Episode of Sports and Songs podcast. We're on season 3, episode number 46. Today's the sports edition to our show. It's October 3rd. Andy, how are you?
I am good. And
Should
yourself?
should I ask
You know,
about your beloved Mets?
well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it in the show here.
Ooh, ouch. Well, the Twins have 3 games left, and the only way they can finish in second place is if they sweep the White Sox. Anything less will be a third place finish, much like you had predicted, I believe.
Yes.
But
And with their record on that now, that's like kissing your sister. So just stay healthy. Don't get hurt. Just go from there.
Luis Arraez, has a several point lead, 3, I think, thousandths of a point. He's up there. Now he's got this injury where they're kind of holding him out. At the same time, he's going to probably back into the batting champion as a champion, but I'm sure he also wants to play, but he's halfway hurt. So we'll see if he plays. He's not in the lineup tonight.
Okay.
Now, speaking of Twins, I've got a trivia question.
Yes, let's hear it.
Which Major League Baseball player set the record this week with the longest last name on the back of his jersey? A new record has been set for the length. We're talking long last names.
Now, former Met first round pick, Peter Crow Armstrong. It's not him because he hasn't been called up, but
okay,
I'm sure he will get the record when he gets called up. But
and we see more of these hyphenated names nowadays, even with some of the Gophers players in football. There's more of that.
Which is fine. That's just a sign of the times.
It's not out of the realm that we maybe seeing more of these records, but this new one is almost quite comical when you see the image. But that's what I've got. We'll come back to that at the end of the show. But what have you got for updates in sports, Andy?
Well, why don't you just give me on that my other screen, then we'll start going.
All righty, here we go.
All right, that's us right there. We will start with the Minnesota State High School Football League. Just a handful of scores here we'll cover. Just some of our favorite teams and that. Winnie Mac loses a 9-man to Kinston County Central 43-6. New York Mills continues to dominate 20 donut, as we say, over Bagley.
Wow.
Ian Prairie beats Prior Lake. Battle of some top 5 teams right there, 28-14. Lester Prairie wins their homecoming 43-6 over Janesville. Mayor Luther with the 35-13 win, and Nordjung America 35-24. I don't have it on here, but Watertown. There's Watertown Mayor 31-21 over Annandale. Jordan loses 22-21. And Wilmer over at the Delano 24-21.
Interesting.
Tight games. Northern Sun Conference, home of the Beavers.
Yes.
And there we go. Beavs won 59-14 over Minot State. There's the other scores from the conference. Minnesota State.
Why not Minot?
Minot State. Why not Minot? Minnesota State. Mankato, as we used to call it. Over Concordia. UMD over Moorhead. Winona State. Sioux Falls, Mary in overtime, and Southwest Minnesota State are all winners. So here's the North Division. The Beavs 1-0, 3-2. So, like we said, just be patient. They'll come back. They're there. 3-2 lead the North Conference, and the South Conference is tight. 5-0 for Sioux Falls, 4-1, 4-1. Upper Iowa's 0-5. Everybody else is either 4-1 or 5-0 in that conference. So that's going to be tough in the South right there. That's a tough one to be in down there. CCHA, college hockey for the Beavs. Boys will be starting out with games at home. Arizona State coming up here to see us this weekend.
Well, what's the RV? Remind the listeners here. They may not know.
They received votes. Usually they rank the top 20 teams. So if you're at 21 through 25, instead of doing that, just put RV for received votes. That does not mean Arizona State came up in an RV to Bemidji. Pretty sure they flew. But RV means received votes. You see it more in hockey and football. I don't know if basketball is going to use it much. They just kind of stick to their top 25 and go from there. The gals, WCHA, for the Beavs, They took 2 from Linwood, like I said on our midweek show last week. 3-2 in overtime and then 6-3. Then they had number 10 Clarkson that took it on the chin in the first game and then came back for a tie in the second one. So that's a good showing. You tied a top 10 team on their ice over in New York.
Yeah.
That's good showing for the girls there.
Okay.
And the girls hockey continues their schedule coming up this weekend at number 2 Minnesota. So it gets only tougher for them. That we've seen the Lady Gophers. Actually, they go by just the Gophers, not the Lady Gophers. The Gophers this weekend. Missouri Valley Football Conference. Here's the scores. There's the Bison winning their homecoming 27-14. Southern Illinois over Illinois State. SDSU continues to win. North Dakota won. And Northern Iowa over Indiana State. There's our rankings. 2-0 in the conference for the Bison. 4-1 overall, just like South Dakota State. Now, South Dakota State's one non-conference loss was to Iowa earlier in the year, and, of course, the Bison to Arizona. So they lost to good schools. That's going to be a tight one until they play each other later. The Summit League, that would be the other sports the Bison are in. Volleyball. Here's how they're doing in conference play so far for the Bison women. 3-0, 3-0, 3-2, 3-0, 3-0. They're good. Leading the conference 5-0. 12-5 overall. South Dakota looks like it might be a competition for them because they're 14-2 overall, so they've played some good volleyball also. These are just the top 4 teams in the conference, not everybody. We're just going to kind of keep it high and top scores. Here we go. Big Ten. Worst logo in college sports. Here's our football scores.
Fair enough.
Illinois over Bucky Badger. I just want to say that again. Illinois over Wisconsin.
Wow.
Michigan over Iowa. Purdue over Minnesota. Ohio State. Oh, how I hate Ohio State. Beats Rutgers. Maryland, Penn State, Nebraska winners. There's the East for the Big Ten. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State on top. Probably going to be that way most of the year right there. We'll have to see how they all fight each other out later on. Michigan State, some are probably saying the last few weeks could be the worst team in college football right now. And the West, it's going to be a log jam up there. It's going to be a dogfight all year. Wisconsin 0-2, everybody else is 1-1. So let the fun begin.
Yeah, I see the are you going to bring up the rankings, the AP?
I do not have the AP rankings yet, no.
Okay. What happened was Minnesota now dropped out, so now they're receiving votes. They're out of the top 25.
They're an RV.
Home game loss to Purdue on homecoming.
Yep.
Beautiful day at Huntington Bank Stadium, and they just could not do anything.
No.
Now, the Gophers' defense, of course, is one of the top in the nation.
Yeah,
but I know with Mo Ibrahim being out, is that much of a blow that they don't have a rushing attack? Last year, no matter who they plugged in there, did outstanding. We were 2 or 3, 4 guys deep and all had big rushing performances for the Gophers. This year, they just came out flat, it appears, on Saturday. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the way I saw it. It's like they forgot they had a game and they woke up that morning, oh, crap, we got to play today. That's just the way they seem to be playing to me.
That really hurt, I think. From a personal perspective, for these guys moving on in the future, they came out so good, and now you lay an egg at home for homecoming against Purdue. So, anyway, it is what it is.
Purdue's 3-2 overall, and they barely lost those 2 games. So they were good.
They needed to win that game. Now, they have a bye week, though, I think.
Yes. So they got time to lick their wounds, as we say.
Yes.
Let's cover a little Gopher volleyball. Took care of Iowa on Sunday, 3-1. With all the football stuff going on, you might have forgot they were playing volleyball there too. Now they go to Michigan to play. And here's how we're doing in the volleyball standings. 4-0 for the couple top teams there, Purdue and Nebraska. We have lost to Purdue, so we can take credit for them being 4-0 there. Good team there. Wisconsin 3-1. All the Gophers did beat Wisconsin last week, but conference record, there's 3-1. We're 2-2. If you like women's volleyball, Big Ten volleyball, as you see these numbers, look how close they are. This is where it's at. You get a chance to check out the Gophers volleyball, even on Big Ten Network, or going down there to watch. Well worth it. Hockey. The men took care of Linwood 4-0 and 6-4. And they play Minnesota State coming up this weekend, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully they could take both of those because it is here. The gals have got a couple exhibition wins. Manitoba 13-0. Then over the weekend they beat the Minnesota Whitecaps, which is our semi-pro women's team that we have here, and they beat them 4-2. So that's pretty good. And like we said earlier, Bemidji State's going to be at Ritter this weekend. Baseball. According to D1baseball.com, the Gophers are ranked 93rd. Minnesota last reached the NCAA tournament back in 2018. They won 44 games and reached the Supers. But since that point, the Gophers have won 28 games in 19, 6 games in 21, and last year won 16 games. Or according to D1 Baseball, a whopping 16 games. But they're a young team. They're coming up. So hopefully we can turn this thing around. And, again, fun to watch Gopher baseball. Speaking of baseball, the elephant in the room, let's just get it over with here. There's the playoff picture as of this morning. My opinion, I'm not one to complain. The schedule's the schedule. It is what it is. I'm going to really hate saying this. I like to see Philadelphia win a lot this weekend and San Diego lose. Because I don't want the Mets going coast to coast, back-to-back playoff series like that. Play Philly, then fly out to LA for a series.
I see.
Not making excuses. That's not my style. You know that. But just if I had a choice. Speaking of the schedules, Seattle's only got a game and a half lead for that last spot. That's home field we're talking there, kids. So Seattle, their schedules, Detroit's at Seattle. So Seattle should be able to take care of business there and hold that lead. Tampa Bay's at Boston. Now Boston's out of it. They're below 500. They're fighting for 500, and it's Boston. It's a division rivalry. So those aren't 3 easy wins for Tampa there. So that being said, see how that goes. The National League.
Yes.
Braves are at Miami, and as of the time we're speaking here, Miami is ahead. Mets are rained out playing a doubleheader tomorrow. And you look at that other game, I said Philly and San Diego. There's only a 1-game lead there. Frisco's at San Diego, but again, there's division rivalry. Frisco's not going to lay down. And Philadelphia's at Houston. Houston's locked up the 1 seed in the American League. They just got to get their pitching rotation in order for 3 games and stay healthy. Philly can take these 3.
Yeah.
So we shall see how these all pan out over the weekend. Or throughout the week, going into the weekend.
Yeah, this is the
Final
final week of regular season baseball. We wrap up on Wednesday.
NASCAR. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Here's the playoff standings with 1 race to go in the round of 12. Chase Elliott did win the other day at Talladega. Very exciting finish there. You see the points. Right now it looks like Austin Cindric, William Bryan, Christopher Bell, and Alex Bauman are out. As you see, Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric are tied it. But Briscoe has the advantage, so it should be a tight race. The next race is Sunday, October 9th, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's 1 for those of us here in Minnesota. The Bank of America 400. It's a road course race, so it's not just your basic oval circles. It's a road course race. 109 laps, 252.88 miles. So should be fun to watch. If you like road racing, that's a little different there. Give it a shot. Some more sports notes. 1/3 of the college football season is over. 5 Power 5 schools have committed to paying off fired head coaches. Wisconsin fired their head coach the other day. He's still going to get $16.4 million. Scott Frost from Nebraska was canned earlier this year. He's still banking $15 million. Jeff Collins, that's Jeff the old way, Geoff, from Georgia Tech. Canned, still making $11.37 million. Doral from Colorado, who just got canned this week, $8.7 million, and Herm Edwards from Arizona State, $9.4 million, sitting at home doing nothing. Well, I think it's ridiculous how much they pay these college coaches after a good season or two, or because of your name or something like that. Now you're stuck paying him $16 million. In my book, if I'm paying a guy $16 million, he's gonna sit there and look terrible and never get a job again if it's up to me. Wisconsin, you're 0-2. The conference, you make him sit there and do cruddy because now he's making $16 million. He'll probably be an analyst somewhere or get a job next year based on what he's done in the past, not this year. So I'd make him sit there and get a rotten resume. That's up to me.
Well, like you say, it's combined 60 million, over 60 million, and just those 5 are going to be going to pay these individuals who do not have jobs. Checks will keep
this
coming
isn't counting
in the
their
mail.
deals with Nike, or if they had a radio show deal or TV show deal or other endorsement deals. Here, I love this stat right here. I've seen so many people say this as they put this out there. Aaron Judge hitting 16 home runs means something. We hit 62. That means something too. Unless he hits 74, Barry Bonds is still the home run king. I don't care what Roger Maris Jr. says. Now, like we said before, it's a steroid era, but the league was letting it go. So until the league, like we said before last week, are you going to take out all the pitching stats from the dead ball era then and say they don't count?
Yeah, they're in a tough spot, but once again, they allowed it, and now we've got this. Now, is Roger Maris Jr. saying that the home run title, the American League title?
No, he's saying the home run title.
By saying American League?
If
he's saying the home run. So, he's going right after Bonds here and Sosa.
If Judge hits 62, he's the home run champ.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise that. He may not agree with it, but I don't think it's.
He has much strokes as I do, Roger Maris Jr. So let's go through some of these stats in Major League Baseball. Like I said, there's Louis with his batting average lead. And some of these other stats aren't really per se tight races, just some numbers I wanted to bring up. But so there you go. There's a top 5 there. Hits, Bo Bouchette's got a six hit lead now. Granted, Toronto is set. If he sits and Abreu plays, he might get more hits this season. So we'll see how that turns out. Doubles again, Bo Bichette tied with DJ Martinez. Ramirez is 1 behind, and a couple guys 2 behind that. So nice little race there for doubles. And some of you in fantasy baseball, where your stats go out more and more, this means something to you. Stolen bases.
Oh, yeah.
Couple guys tied at 34. And here's the part the reason I bring this up. The guy leading the league with 3 games to go, in my opinion, has only 34 stolen bases. I remember back in, but we grew up with Ricky Henderson, Vince Coleman, Tim Raines, Otis Nixon, where, they were racing 100 all the time for the year. Now here, 34 leads the league.
Oh, yes.
But 2 guys, both from Baltimore, though. That's kind of the interesting part. That's why I wanted to bring that up. The guys tied for leader, both at the Orioles. So, and look how they made a close run this year for the playoffs. They signed these 2 guys to keep going. Could be cool. Pitching wins, Verlander at 17, and he's missed some games this year. And look at 3 of the top 5, all Houston. You wonder why they were quietly the number 1 seed all through. National League for Freddie Freeman. Just a few points ahead of Jeff McNeil of the Mets. Home runs, softball player Kyle Schwarber, or built like a softball player. He's got a 4 home run lead on Pete, but you never know. Pete could get hot. Kyle doesn't. We'll see. A boy can dream. Hits.
Yes.
They're 2 guys for the Dodgers, 1-2. Just another nice little stat I want to throw up there. Runs scored. Look, 2 guys from the Dodgers tied for first, and a guy from the Dodgers and tied for fourth. You wonder why they had the best record in the National League. And in triples, now, granted, I doubt there's a player or ever been a player that has a thing in their contract where if I lead the league in triples, I get a bonus. Not saying that, but there is 2 Mets players up there, and Nemo is tied for first. So we'll see what happens there. And in wins, Kyle Wright quietly gets 21 wins. Who'd have thunk it? And 2 Dodger guys up there, 16-17.
Wow.
And all this talk of the Mets, geez, it's going to be Max Scherzer and DeGrom, and maybe Cookie will make it. Here, Bassett quietly gets 15 wins for the year. And in Ks, there players who are out of it are leading the league in Ks, except for, Nola there for Phillies and Morton for Atlanta. But Corbin Burns, he would be a great pickup free agent-wise. Just saying. We partied with Tommy Kramer this weekend, Dan. 2-minute Tommy. We were down at the Dodge House on Lester Prairie. There's a picture of Tommy's ride on the way in. Of course, we blocked out the plate number because we didn't block out that
limo.
There's a picture of the limo. There's me trying to break in the limo. Whoops. Got excited there. There's the Randy Moss picture on there. Yep.
Oh, yes.
That's on the trunk. By Tommy Kramer and Ed McDaniel. And there we are. There's 4 guys you don't want to meet in a bar.
Perfect.
But you could have that night because we were all there.
Yes.
Tommy.
To various small town bars in, he was in a place, I think in Wisconsin on Saturday night, but they'll do this within a 200-mile radius of the Twin Cities and go and do meet and greets in small town bars and sign autographs and hang out and tell stories. And that's what we attended out there in Lester Prairie. Good time.
Free autographs, and Tommy's throwing his merchandise there. So
yes.
Pretty
loose atmosphere there. Pretty easygoing time there with the former Vikings.
Yes. Good times. If you get a chance to see Tommy Kramer, like I said, follow his website. You see him out somewhere. It was nothing to get in. It was like just a rare night at the bar. But hey, you get a free autograph. You can buy merchandise and pay $10 to get some of your own autographed or get something you bought autographed. They had a raffle. Newly appointed head intern Lisa won a jersey autographed, so good for her.
Yeah, and like a game type of a game field jersey, authentic kind of a deal. So signature on that. Really nice setup is what they've got going on. And Tommy always brings another player with him usually, and this time it was Ed McDaniel. So that was
kind of last minute linebacker there too. Yeah. Good times were had at the Dodge House. Thank you to Gary and all them out there for putting on a great show. That's all I got, sir. That's all I got. Do you have anything to add? Do you have some town ball or senior ball?
Well, I got an update here with the Florida tournament. You know the Roy Hobbs tournament. They do that every year. It's a 4-week tournament that takes place in Fort Myers, Florida. They do a similar one in Arizona for amateur baseball. And because of the hurricane that went through, just announced today, the first 2 weeks have been outright canceled for the baseball tournament down in Fort Myers this year. I was taking a team down there on that second week. We just notified the guys there that the first 2 weeks are canceled. They may end up canceling weeks 3 and 4 as well. They say the fields are playable down there because it's inland. It's in Fort Myers proper, the city. But many people stay and reside in the condos and the beaches on the beach, the hotels, or in beach homes or villas or something. And it just got to be too much. And they're still doing so many repairs and everything on the beach side. So they thought it best to cancel it. I'm guessing they'll probably do the same thing with the next couple of weeks, but that'll open up some time here with the local baseball guys to won't have that week down there. So, never know. Maybe this fall baseball league could extend out a couple weeks. We don't know how that'll shake out, but that's one thing. The Carlos Correa made some interesting comments, Andy. The Twins went out and signed him. He was a big ticket player for shortstops in the offseason, and the Twins paid big money for a record signing for the shortstop, brought him on a 3-year deal. I repeat, a 3-year deal. We have him signed for 3 years. So what Carlos is trying to do here is trying to get a long-term deal with a team. He really likes Minnesota. He wants to stay here. He's pushing for this long-term deal. I don't know if it's 7, 10 years, whatever it is, but he's talking nonstop about this long-term deal. Well, earlier in the season, there was some discussion and some interest that was raised on social media and newspapers by why aren't the Twins talking to him? Why aren't they negotiating some kind of a deal with Carlos Correa? So we've seen this come up before, and I made a post about all these shenanigans on our Twitter page. We have to keep in mind, we signed him to a 3-year deal. There is a 3-year deal. I know it's not long-term, 7, 10 years.
Mhm.
Twins are not looking for that. We've got Royce Lewis coming up. We have Austin Martin coming up. The Twins have zero need for Carlos Correa after that 3-year period. Zero. So now he can opt out after year 1 or after year 2 or when the contract ends after year 3. He can leave anytime he wants. He's making some comments and quotes in the media that if the Twins don't want to pay me, I'm going to walk.
Bye.
Well, you already can walk. You can walk right now. You can walk next year. No one's keeping you here. That's how you built the contract in with your agent. You're the one that signed it. So you have a deal. You are a Twin. The Twins have him for 3 years. I think what he's trying to do is to say, I want a long-term deal. And if not, you're not willing to sign it, then I'm going to walk. And then it's going to be your fault that you didn't keep me. Well, I think the Twins are saying that
Twins don't
that's
want
fine.
10 years. They want
walk right now if you want.
3.
We're never said we're here to sign you to a long-term deal ever. He said, I don't want a team that I can date. I want a team that I can marry. I don't think the Twins ever made that claim that they ever wanted to marry Carlos Correa. Is he good?
Right.
Yes. Is he expensive? Yes. And is he a game changer? Ohtani, Mike Trout type of a guy? No, that's not the case. And he's already 27, 28 years old. So he's a good ball player. Yes. Twins management over the years have historically shown they're not going to pay big bucks to a long-term deal for a guy like him. They already paid big bucks and broke the bank to get him for 3 years. So
and also,
I think that he's probably I think he's thinking that Royce Lewis is hurt. There's no one coming up next year to be the shortstop. The only option is him. But I feel like this is the free agent talking. The free agent is sending bullet points to push Carlos Correa to say, and Carlos is parroting those things in the media. I don't know. We just have to remember as Twins fans not to listen to that. Twins management don't listen to that. This is all shenanigans. They're just trying to stoke the fire. We have him for 3 years. We got out the wallet to bring him here for 3 years in the first place. There's a lot of fans saying, Twins on Twitter, they're saying, Twins, open your wallet and get this guy here.
We opened our wallet for Byron Buxton. Look where that's at.
Yes. So we have opened the wallet. We have made the big long-term deals. We have been able to do that. But a long-term deal for a shortstop, when all we've been doing is drafting shortstops for the last 5, 10 years to come up through the system, I think we're set there. We might even be too deep. But that's just my soapbox for the day. We have Carlos. We always had him. And we have him for 3 baseball seasons, period. If he wants to opt out, he can. But the Twins do not have to initiate any talks. They do not have to initiate any contract negotiations. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk to. And he keeps saying, and his agent, even in the middle of the season, we're waiting for the Twins to come and talk to us. We're waiting for them to make that phone call, to reach out and get Correa on board. End of story. He is on board. We have him. We have him signed. No interest for 3 years to keep Correa ever. I think they'd be foolish if they ever did go down that road, but he is just trying to stir the pot. And so we got to keep those things in mind when we hear these things that, yeah, he's a great shortstop. That's why we got him. 3-year deal, that's perfect. And if he leaves during one of those, we've got guys coming up. But after 3 years, we're set with a low-end salary, I think, as guys coming up through our range that are going to be fairly easy
which
to
I
pay
think
until they get into negotiations, of course. But Royce Lewis, as we saw when he was up, already hit 300 in a limited time with the Twins in the big leagues, and can play defense and can hit for power. He's got speed. Austin Martin finished Double-A this year. He's coming up a number 2 or a number 1 prospect with the Toronto Blue Jays organization just a few years ago, a top-notch player. And he's a shortstop. So we got some big sticks coming up. Now, Nick Gordon, who we have playing at second, sparingly in the outfield, also can play short, can also play third or first, or can DH, came up as a shortstop. Nick Gordon is a
natural shortstop. Yeah.
So he's a natural shortstop, very talented individual. So I think that's it, though. Now we got a trivia answer.
What we just say about Carlos is here's the deal. Here's the way they sign him. Yeah, he could walk him during the off seasons. That's fine. I really think their Twins' plan was in 3 years, in year 3, I should say, unless we're in a pennant winning situation, it's a cheap contract. He'd be a great trade bait. Or halfway through the year next year. If we're out of it, that's a cheap contract. You trade him to a contender who will sign him for a long term and he'll go there. So if he doesn't take his ball and go home in the offseason, I'd be very surprised if he finishes if a year from now he's still in a Twins uniform.
Correct. And that's another option too. And the rates that they did it at allows for that to happen. And we could get someone or a couple of guys in return for him. Who knows? There's lots of options here. But the key word being Carlos and his agent have got to approach the Twins first. There's no action item for the Twins to do from the front office, to talk, to reach out, or negotiate anything. It's got to be Carlos has got to initiate the contact to say, I'd like to opt out. And then we can get the ball rolling. So far, he hasn't said that. But he keeps referring to the Twins not wanting to reach out and contact him and talk about this. So he's bringing this up in the locker room. And I'm just here to say that is false. That's not the case. The Twins have no reason to talk to Carlos Correa. He has got to come to the team first. So that's what's going on. Twins have 3 games left, 2 after tonight. They'll be done, wrapped up. We'll see how things go.
Here's some score updates for you as we speak. Braves lost 4-0 to the Marlins. Seattle and Detroit, San Diego, San Francisco just getting underway. Phillies, bottom of 5, are ahead to 1-0 over Houston.
Now, in the college AP rankings, I forgot to mention that Georgia was first last week. Georgia Bulldogs. And Alabama won. And Georgia did, and then they flip-flopped due to points. A very close race by points, but the Crimson Tide are the new number 1 team in the nation right now. Georgia has dropped to 2.
Roll Tide.
Did you have anything else?
We are on to the trivia answer now.
So here's the trivia question. Which Major League Baseball player broke a record, a historical record for longest last name in the major leagues in the back of his jersey? I think most of us here in the listening audience will know the answer to that. Twins prospect, top prospect is one of the top prospects. I think he's number 6. Simeon Woods Richardson made his big league debut Sunday. And if you got a chance to see the back of his jersey, it's not a hyphen, but Woods space Richardson, all one word, wraps around the back. The record was 14. I think this is 15 letters, new record, including the space. There's no hyphen, but it's a space between there. It's a 16-character jersey length for a last name. They had to really strategically get that on there. It's a sight to behold, but it is the Twins. Woods Richardson is now a major league record. He has a major league record.
That's all we do is set records here in Minnesota with our players.
And he is a starter, so we'll see him, I'm assuming, in the starting in AAA next year for the Twins. Maybe breaking camp with the team, but very high expectations. If he does start the season in AAA, I'd imagine he'd be a mid-season call-up, and they'll give him a lot of starts. He's a big, strong fella.
He's a big kid. He'll be good.
We got him in
one to watch.
We got him in one of those trades too. I'm not sure if it was Jose Barrios or Nelson Cruz, but in return, when we ship these guys out, we always get someone big in return. It just takes a couple years to bring them up. But Simeon Woods Richardson, welcome to Big Leagues. We'll be talking about you many times, I think, in the future on the show. Have a good week,
we'll talk to you
everyone.
later. Bye.
See ya.